The alarm went off at 6 in the morning and Daniel's eyes shot open. Today was the day. After 4 long years of late nights, endless studying, and more coffee than any human should drink, he was finally graduating from college. He reached over to silence his phone and just lay there for a moment, letting it sink in. Then he remembered. His mom had promised she'd be here for breakfast. They were supposed to have pancakes together, the special ones she always made on important days, the ones with chocolate chips arranged in a smiley face even though he was 22 years old now. It was their thing. He sat up and listened. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Usually by this time, he'd hear her in the kitchen humming along to the radio while pans clattered and the coffee maker gurgled. But there was nothing. Just silence. Daniel pulled on his sweatpants and walked down the hallway. His mom's bedroom door was wide open, and when he peeked inside, the bed was already made. The comforter was pulled tight, pillows arranged perfectly like nobody had slept there at all. His stomach did a little flip. He headed to the kitchen, half expecting to find a note. His mom always left notes. Little pieces of paper stuck to the fridge with magnets telling him she loved him, or reminding him to eat something other than pizza, or just saying she'd be home late. But the fridge was bare except for old grocery lists and a photo of them from his high school graduation. Daniel checked the counter. Nothing. He opened the fridge, thinking maybe she'd left breakfast ready for him, just some leftover Chinese food and a carton of milk that was probably going bad. No pancakes, no note, no sign that she'd thought about today at all. He pulled out his phone and checked for messages. Maybe she'd texted him. But there was nothing new. His last text to her from yesterday was still sitting there unanswered. He'd sent her a reminder about today with a graduation cap emoji and everything. She'd read it. The blue check mark showed that, but she hadn't replied. A weird feeling started growing in his chest. Not quite worry, not quite hurt. Something in between. His mom worked as a nurse at the county hospital, and her shifts were brutal. Sometimes she worked 16 hours straight. Sometimes she'd pull a double shift without even calling because the hospital was short-staffed and people needed help. He understood that. He really did, but today was different. Today was supposed to be their day. She'd been talking about his graduation since he first got accepted to college. She'd worked extra shifts to help pay for his books in his dorm room. When money got tight, she'd skipped buying things for herself so he could have what he needed. She told him over and over that watching him walk across that stage and get his diploma would be the proudest moment of her life. Daniel tried calling her. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. Her voice on the recording sounded tired, asking callers to leave a message. He hung up without saying anything. What was he supposed to say? Hey Mom, where are you on my graduation day? That felt too guilt-trippy. He tried again. Same thing. Straight to voicemail after a few rings. Now the worry was starting to take over. What if something happened to her? What if she got in an accident driving home from work? What if she was hurt somewhere and couldn't call for help? His mind started racing through worst-case scenarios, each one more awful than the last. But then another thought crept in, one he didn't want to have. What if she just forgot? What if she'd been working so hard, so many shifts in a row, that the date just slipped her mind? What if graduation day had come and gone in her head without her even realizing it? No, that couldn't be it. His mom didn't forget things like this. She had a calendar on the wall in the kitchen with big red circles around important dates. His graduation was circled so many times it looked like someone had attacked the calendar with a marker. Daniel walked over to check the calendar anyway. May 23rd was right there, circled in red with graduation day written in her handwriting with 3 exclamation points. So she knew. She definitely knew. He sat down at the kitchen table and stared at his phone, willing it to ring. Maybe she'd call any second now, apologizing for running late, explaining that there was an emergency at the hospital but she'd be there. She'd tell him to stop worrying, that nothing in this world could make her miss watching him graduate. But the phone stayed silent. Daniel looked at the clock. It was already 7:30. The graduation ceremony started at 10, but he needed to be there by 9 to line up with the other graduates. That meant he had to leave in about an hour. He still needed to shower, get dressed in his cap and gown, and drive to campus. He should start getting ready. But part of him wanted to wait just a little longer in case she walked through the door. Maybe she'd been at the hospital all night and lost track of time. Maybe her phone died. Maybe there was a perfectly good explanation for all of this. He sent her another text. "Mom, graduation is today. Are you okay? Please call me." He hit send and watched the message turn blue. Delivered. Read. Still no response. The hurt was definitely there now, mixing with the worry. How could she not respond? Even if she was busy, couldn't she take 2 seconds to send back a quick message? Just a heart emoji or something to let him know she was alive and thinking about him. Daniel got up and started getting ready on autopilot. He took a shower, barely feeling the hot water on his skin. He dried off and put on the dress shirt and pants he'd picked out last week. Everything felt mechanical, like he was watching himself from outside his body. The cap and gown were hanging on the back of his bedroom door, still in the plastic bag from when he'd picked them up last month. He pulled them out and held up the gown. It was deep blue, the school colors. His mom had been so excited when he brought it home. She'd made him try it on right there in the living room, taking a dozen photos and sending them to all their relatives. "My son, the college graduate," she'd said, her eyes getting all watery. "I can't believe my baby is all grown up." Now putting on that same gown alone in his room, the memory felt like it belonged to a different lifetime. Daniel adjusted the cap on his head, moving the tassel to the right side like he'd been instructed. After the ceremony, he'd flip it to the left. That's how you knew you'd officially graduated. Right to left. Old life to new life. He looked at himself in the mirror. He looked like a graduate. He looked ready. But inside he felt like something was missing. Someone was missing. His phone buzzed and his heart jumped. Finally. But when he grabbed it, it wasn't his mom. It was his younger sister, asking if he was excited and saying she couldn't wait to see him walk across the stage. She'd added about 15 party emojis to her message. He texted back a thumbs up, not trusting himself to write actual words without sounding bitter. Another message came in, this time from his aunt. She said she and his sister were already on their way to campus, and they'd saved seats for everyone. Everyone. That meant they'd saved a seat for his mom, too. Daniel grabbed his keys and took one last look around the empty house. The kitchen was still quiet. The calendar still showed May 23rd circled in red. His mom's bedroom door still stood open to an empty room. He walked out to his car and sat in the driver's seat for a minute before starting the engine. The passenger seat next to him was empty. He'd imagined this morning so differently. He'd pictured his mom sitting there, probably crying happy tears and taking more photos than necessary. She'd probably make him stop for coffee on the way, even though they'd be running late. She'd tell him stories about when he was little, about how she always knew he'd do great things. But the passenger seat was just empty leather. No mom, no proud tears, no stories. Daniel started the car and backed out of the driveway, leaving the empty house behind. As he drove toward campus, he kept his phone on the seat next to him. Volume turned all the way up, just in case she called. Just in case there was still time for her to explain, to make this right, to be there like she promised. But the phone stayed silent, and with each mile that passed, the knot in his stomach grew tighter. The parking lot at the university was already packed when Daniel pulled in. Cars were circling like sharks, waiting for spots to open up. Families were everywhere, walking in groups toward the main arena, carrying balloons and flowers and signs with names written in glitter. Everyone looked so happy, so excited, so complete. Daniel found a spot at the far end of the lot and sat in his car for a moment, watching other graduates meet up with their families. One guy his age was getting smothered by what looked like his entire extended family, grandparents and cousins, and everyone taking turns hugging him. A girl in her cap and gown was posing for photos with her parents, who couldn't stop smiling. Her dad kept adjusting her tassel, making her laugh. He checked his phone again, still nothing from his mom. The time read 8:45. He had 15 minutes to get to the staging area where all the graduates were supposed to meet. Taking a deep breath, Daniel got out of the car and started walking toward campus. The gown felt heavy on his shoulders and the cap kept sliding around on his head. Other students were streaming in the same direction, most of them surrounded by their families. He walked alone, hands shoved in his pockets under the gown, trying not to look as lonely as he felt. The main quad was transformed. There were banners everywhere congratulating the graduating class. Tables were set up with programs and maps showing people where to go. Volunteers in school t-shirts were directing traffic, pointing families toward the arena and graduates toward the staging area behind it. Daniel followed the signs, weaving through crowds of excited relatives. A little kid ran past him carrying a bouquet of flowers almost as big as she was. An older woman was crying happy tears while her grandson tried to console her. A dad was arguing with another dad about who was going to get the better camera angle during the ceremony. All around him, people were celebrating. And he was by himself. He finally made it to the staging area, a huge tent set up behind the arena where all the graduates were gathering. The energy under that tent was electric. People were hugging, taking selfies, laughing about how they'd made it through the hardest years of their lives. Some were already crying. Some were joking around, probably to keep from crying. Daniel found the section for his last name and got in line. The guy in front of him turned around with a huge grin. "Can you believe we actually did it? I honestly thought organic chemistry was going to be the end of me." Daniel forced a smile. "Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Is your family here yet?" The guy asked. "My parents are losing their minds out there. My mom's been texting me every 5 minutes. They're around somewhere," Daniel said, which wasn't technically a lie. His sister and aunt were out there, just not the one person he really wanted to see. The guy kept talking, but Daniel stopped listening. He pulled out his phone one more time, hoping maybe he'd missed a notification somehow, but there was nothing. His last text to his mom was still just sitting there unanswered. The little read notification underneath it felt like a knife. She'd seen his message. She knew today was graduation. She knew he was asking where she was. And she still hadn't responded. Daniel tried calling again, but it went straight to voicemail this time. Not even a ring. Just her tired voice asking him to leave a message. He hung up. Around him, other graduates were on their phones too, but they were all smiling. FaceTiming with relatives who couldn't make it, probably. Posting pictures to social media. Texting friends about meeting up after the ceremony. Normal stuff. Happy stuff. An organizer with a clipboard came by, checking names and making sure everyone was in the right spot. She had way too much energy for 9 in the morning. "This is it, everyone. Everything you've worked for comes down to today. Make sure your phones are on silent, walk with confidence, and don't forget to smile for the photographers. Your families are so proud of you. Your families are so proud of you." Daniel felt those words hit different than she probably meant them to. Was his mom proud? She'd said she was. She'd said it 100 times. But if she was really that proud, wouldn't she be here? The line started moving. They were going over some last-minute instructions about when to stand, when to sit, how to receive the diploma without tripping on stage. Daniel tried to focus, but his mind kept wandering. He kept thinking about that empty kitchen this morning, about the silent house, about his mom's made bed like she'd never been there at all. They started filing into the arena, walking through a side entrance that led to the floor where all the chairs were set up for graduates. The place was massive, way bigger than it looked from outside. The stands were already filling up with families, and the noise was incredible. People were cheering, music was playing, cameras were flashing. Daniel found his seat and sat down, looking around at the chaos. The graduates around him were all craning their necks, scanning the crowd, waving when they spotted their families. Someone behind him let out a whoop and started waving frantically at the stands. A girl across the aisle was blowing kisses toward a section where people were holding up a huge banner with her name on it. Daniel looked up at the stands too, even though he knew it was pointless. The arena could hold thousands of people, and it looked like every seat was taken. Finding anyone in that crowd would be nearly impossible, but he looked anyway, hoping maybe by some miracle he'd spot his mom. He scanned the lower sections first, the ones closest to the floor. Families were packed in tight, holding programs, adjusting their cameras, pointing down at graduates and trying to figure out where their kids were sitting. But no familiar face, no one he recognized. His phone buzzed. Finally. But when he looked, it was just his sister. "We're here. Section 214, row K, can you see us?" He texted back. "Too many people. Is Mom with you?" The 3 little dots appeared, showing his sister was typing. They disappeared. Appeared again, disappeared. Finally, a message came through. "Not yet. We're keeping a seat for her. She'll probably show up any minute." Probably. That word stung worse than a definite no would've. Daniel put his phone away and slumped in his chair. The ceremony was about to start. The organizers were getting everyone settled, asking people to find their seats, reminding families to turn off their phones. The dean was walking up to the podium, adjusting the microphone. This was really happening. He was about to graduate from college, something he'd been working toward since he was 18 years old. 4 years of papers and exams and projects and stress and growth. 4 years of his mom working doubles at the hospital to help pay for it all. 4 years of her saying, "I can't wait to see you walk across that stage." And now that moment was here and she wasn't. The ceremony began with a welcome speech. The dean was talking about achievement and perseverance and how proud everyone should be. Daniel heard the words, but they weren't really landing. He kept glancing toward the entrances, thinking maybe his mom would come rushing in at the last second. She'd be out of breath, apologizing, explaining why she was late, but she'd be there. That's what mattered, but the doors stayed closed. The ceremony kept going. A student gave a speech about overcoming obstacles. A professor talked about the journey they'd all been on together. The choir sang something inspirational. Time kept moving forward whether Daniel was ready or not. They started the actual graduation part, calling names by college and then alphabetically within each college. Daniel was in the College of Arts and Sciences, which meant he'd be somewhere in the middle. Not too early, not too late. Just enough time to really think about what was happening. Around him, graduates were getting more excited as their turns approached. Some were practicing their walks, making their friends laugh. Others were getting emotional, wiping their eyes and taking deep breaths. Everyone was feeling something big. Daniel just felt numb. He watched as the first few rows started getting called up. Each name got a cheer from somewhere in the crowd. Some got huge reactions, with whole sections standing up and screaming. Others got polite applause, but everyone got something. Everyone had somebody up there rooting for them, would he? His sister would cheer, he knew that. His aunt too. But it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be his mom's voice rising above the crowd, full of pride and joy and relief that they'd both made it to this moment. The row in front of him stood up. They were getting close now. Maybe 10 more minutes until it was his turn. Daniel's heart started beating faster. Not from excitement. From dread. From the growing certainty that he was going to have to walk across that stage and accept his diploma in front of thousands of people, knowing the one person who should be watching wasn't there. His phone buzzed again. He grabbed it quickly, hoping desperately it was his mom. But it was his aunt this time. "We can see your section from here. You're so close. We love you." Daniel stared at that message. "We love you." Not "she loves you" or "mom will be here soon." Just we. Just the people who actually showed up. His row was standing now. This was it. Daniel got to his feet with everyone else, smoothing down his gown, adjusting his cap one more time. The person in front of him was bouncing on their toes with nervous energy. The person behind him was taking deep breaths, clearly trying not to cry. And Daniel was just trying to figure out how he was going to get through the next few minutes without completely falling apart. The line was moving now. Graduates shuffling forward one by one as names were called. Daniel could hear the announcer's voice booming through the speakers, each name followed by cheers and applause. Some names got polite clapping. Others got absolute chaos, with whole families on their feet screaming and waving signs. He was close enough now to see the stage. It looked bigger up close, more official. There was a long blue carpet leading up the steps, and at the top the dean and other faculty members stood in their fancy robes, ready to shake hands and hand over diplomas. Professional photographers were stationed at different angles, cameras ready to capture that perfect moment. Daniel's stomach was in knots. He kept telling himself it was fine. People graduated without their parents watching all the time. Maybe their parents had passed away or lived far away or had to work. This wasn't the end of the world. This was still his achievement. He'd still earned this degree, but it didn't feel like he thought it would. It felt hollow. The girl in front of him got called. Rebecca Ann Thompson. A huge cheer erupted from one section of the stands. Daniel watched her walk up the stairs, saw her face light up as she heard her family screaming her name. She was crying by the time she reached the dean, happy tears streaming down her face as she accepted her diploma and posed for the photo. Then it was the guy in front of Daniel, Christopher James Walsh. More cheering, more proud families losing their minds. Christopher pumped his fist as he walked, clearly riding high on the energy from the crowd. He grabbed his diploma, shook hands like he was sealing a business deal, and walked off the other side of the stage with the biggest smile. Daniel's heart was pounding now. He was next. This was it. Daniel Anthony Martinez. His name echoed through the arena, sounding both too loud and not loud enough. He took a breath and started walking. Left foot, right foot, don't trip, keep going. The stairs felt steep. His legs felt shaky, but he made it to the top. The dean smiled at him, one of those professional smiles that said the same thing to every graduate. Congratulations. The handshake was firm and quick. Someone pressed a diploma cover into Daniel's other hand, the one that didn't contain an actual diploma, just a piece of paper saying the real one would be mailed later. He heard cheering, not a lot, not like Rebecca or Christopher got, but some. His sister and aunt, probably. Maybe some classmates who recognized his name. Polite applause from everyone else. As he walked across that stage, Daniel couldn't help himself. Even though he knew he shouldn't, even though it would only hurt more, he looked up at the stands. His eyes scanned the crowd desperately, searching for his mom's face. Maybe she'd made it. Maybe she was up there somewhere and he just didn't know which section. He looked left. Hundreds of faces, none of them hers. He looked right. More strangers. He tried to spot section 214 where his sister said they were sitting, but there were too many people, too much movement, too much chaos. Everyone looked the same from down here. Just a blur of proud families celebrating someone else. The photographer called out to him. "Hey, graduate. Look here." Daniel turned automatically, managed something that probably looked like a smile, and heard the camera click. That photo would be available for purchase later. A forever reminder of this moment when he walked across the stage alone. He kept moving, following the blue carpet to the stairs on the other side. Down he went, back to the floor, back to his seat. The whole thing had taken maybe 30 seconds, but it felt like the longest 30 seconds of his life. As he sat down, Daniel felt something break inside him. Not dramatically, not like in the movies where people sob and make a scene, just a quiet breaking like a crack spreading through ice. He'd done it. He'd graduated. He'd walked across that stage and accepted his diploma and smiled for the camera. He'd done everything he was supposed to do, but the one person who'd made it all possible wasn't there to see it. The ceremony kept going. More names, more cheers, more happy graduates living the best moment of their lives. Daniel sat there with his diploma cover in his lap, feeling nothing. Around him, other graduates were taking selfies, hugging their neighbors, texting their families about where to meet after. Normal graduation stuff. He pulled out his phone one more time. Maybe now. Maybe she'd finally responded. But there was nothing. Same unread messages from his sister and aunt. Same silence from his mom. He opened their text thread and stared at it. The last thing she'd sent him was from 3 days ago. Just a simple, "Love you, see you soon," with a heart emoji. Daniel typed out a message. "I graduated." He stared at those 2 words for a long time, then deleted them. What was the point? She clearly knew it was today. She'd read his earlier messages. She just wasn't responding. He tried a different message. "Are you okay?" But that felt too needy, too desperate. He deleted it too. Finally, he just sent a single question mark. Then he immediately regretted it. What kind of message was that? It was passive-aggressive and pathetic at the same time. But it was too late to take back. Sent, delivered, read. Still no response. The announcer was wrapping up the last few names now. The ceremony was almost over. Soon they'd all stand up, flip their tassels from right to left, throw their caps in the air, and officially be college graduates. Then everyone would flood out to find their families, take 1,000,000 more photos, make plans for celebration dinners. And Daniel would do what exactly? Find his sister and aunt, paste on a smile, pretend he was fine, go home to an empty house and wonder what happened to his mom, act like this was all okay. He looked down at the diploma cover in his hands. It was a nice cover, dark blue leather with the university name embossed in gold. Inside was just a piece of cardstock with his name printed on it and a note about when the real diploma would arrive. But it represented 4 years of his life, 4 years of work and stress and growth, 4 years of his mom working herself to the bone at the hospital, picking up every extra shift she could, skipping lunch breaks to save money, coming home so tired she could barely stand, but still asking about his classes, still helping him study, still believing in him when he didn't believe in himself. She'd been there for every late-night panic attack during finals week, every time he wanted to quit, every bad grade that felt like the end of the world, every small victory that deserved celebration. She'd been his biggest supporter, his loudest cheerleader, his constant source of strength until today. Today, when it mattered most, she was just gone. The dean was at the podium again, giving some closing remarks about going forth into the world and making a difference. Daniel barely heard it. He was too busy fighting back the tears that were threatening to spill over. He would not cry. Not here, not in front of thousands of people, not when everyone else was so happy. And now, the dean said, his voice rising with excitement, "It is my great pleasure to present to you the graduating class of 2025. Everyone stood up. This was the moment. Daniel stood with them, reaching up to grab his tassel. "Graduates, please move your tassels from right to left." All around the arena, blue tassels swung from one side to the other. Daniel moved his too, the motion mechanical and meaningless. Right to left, old life to new life. Except it didn't feel new. It just felt empty. "Congratulations, graduates." The arena erupted. Caps flew into the air like blue confetti. People were screaming, hugging, crying happy tears, taking videos. The band started playing the school fight song. Balloons were released from somewhere in the upper deck. It was chaos and joy and celebration. Daniel took off his cap but didn't throw it. He just held it, watching everyone else have the time of their lives. Someone bumped into him from behind, laughing and apologizing at the same time. A girl nearby was sobbing into her friend's shoulder, both of them shaking with emotion. He needed to get out of here. Everyone would be looking for their families now, and he couldn't face the questions. He couldn't deal with his sister's sympathetic looks or his aunt trying to make everything better, or random relatives asking where his mom was. Daniel started pushing through the crowd of graduates, all still celebrating and taking pictures. He muttered "excuse me" about 100 times, working his way toward one of the side exits. Some people gave him weird looks, probably wondering why he wasn't celebrating with everyone else, but most were too caught up in their own joy to notice one person leaving. He made it to an exit and stepped out into a hallway that was slightly quieter than the arena. Other people were out here too, families waiting to reunite with their graduates, but it was less overwhelming. Daniel leaned against a wall and took a breath. His phone buzzed. His sister again. "Where are you?" "We're waiting at the meeting spot we talked about." He'd forgotten they'd planned a meeting spot. His mind was too foggy to remember where it even was. He texted back, "Need a minute. Meet you soon." Another buzz, this time his aunt. "So proud of you. Can't wait to hug you." Daniel put his phone in his pocket without responding. He couldn't deal with this right now. He needed to think. He needed to figure out what he was feeling and why his mom had bailed on the most important day of his life. Maybe something really bad had happened. Maybe she was in an accident and couldn't call. Maybe there was an emergency at the hospital and she'd had to stay. Maybe her phone actually died and she couldn't charge it. Or maybe, a dark voice in his head whispered, maybe she just didn't care enough to show up. No. That wasn't fair. His mom loved him. He knew that. She'd proven it every single day of his life. Especially after his dad died. She'd been both parents, working herself nearly to death to give him a good life, to send him to college, to make sure he had every opportunity. But then where was she? Daniel looked down at his diploma cover again, at his cap in his other hand. He'd done it. He'd graduated. And somehow, instead of feeling proud or accomplished or excited about the future, he just felt incredibly, overwhelmingly alone. Daniel stood in that hallway for what felt like forever, trying to pull himself together. Graduates were streaming out of the arena now, flooding into the hallways to find their families. Everyone was laughing and crying and hugging. The noise was getting louder, more overwhelming. He knew he couldn't hide out here forever. His sister and aunt were waiting. They'd come to support him, and it wasn't their fault his mom had decided not to show up. The least he could do was find them, let them take a few pictures, and pretend everything was fine. Daniel pushed off the wall and started walking back toward the arena entrance, going against the flow of people leaving. He had to get back in there to reach the family section where his sister said they were sitting. Section 214, row K, he could find that. He could do this. As he approached the entrance, he could see back into the arena. Most of the graduates had left the floor by now, making their way to meet their families. But the stands were still packed with people trying to navigate their way down, taking last-minute photos, gathering up their belongings. Daniel stopped at the entrance and looked up at the massive crowd one more time. He didn't even know why. Maybe he was torturing himself. Maybe some part of him still believed in miracles. His eyes scanned the lower sections first, where people were filing out in organized chaos. Then he moved to the middle sections, where the crowd was denser, slower moving. Nothing. No one who looked like his mom. He was about to give up and just text his sister to meet him outside when something caught his eye in the upper sections. Someone was moving differently than everyone else. While most people were carefully making their way down the stairs, following the flow, this person was pushing through the crowd, going sideways, climbing over seats, moving with desperate urgency. Daniel squinted, trying to see better. The person was wearing something blue. Not graduation blue, hospital blue. His heart stopped. No, it couldn't be. But as the figure got closer to the railing of the upper section, pushing past confused families who were trying to move out of the way, Daniel could see more clearly. It was a woman. She was wearing scrubs. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. And even from this distance, even with hundreds of people between them, he knew that face. It was his mom. She was there. She was really there. Daniel felt like someone had knocked all the air out of his lungs. His mom was climbing over seats like they were hurdles, her arms waving frantically, trying to get someone's attention. His attention, he realized. She was looking right at him. Their eyes met across the massive arena. Even with all that distance between them, even with all those people, that connection was instant and electric. Daniel saw his mom's face crumble. She pressed one hand to her mouth, and with her other hand she pointed at him, then put that hand over her heart. It was their gesture, the one they'd had since he was little, when words weren't enough, when they were too far apart to talk, when everything felt like too much. Hand over heart meant everything. It meant I love you and I'm here, and we're going to be okay, and I'm so proud of you, all wrapped up in one movement. Daniel felt hot tears start streaming down his face. He didn't even try to stop them. He pressed his own hand to his heart and pointed back at her, holding up his diploma cover with his other hand. Look, Mom, I did it. We did it. He could see her sobbing now, not even trying to hide it. People around her were looking concerned, probably wondering if she was okay. But she didn't care. She was still climbing over seats, still pushing forward, trying to get to him even though there were dozens of rows and hundreds of people between them. Daniel wanted to run to her, but his feet wouldn't move. He was frozen in place just watching her. She was wearing her hospital scrubs, the dark blue ones that meant she'd been working in the ICU. Her ID badge was hanging crooked from her pocket. She had one shoe untied. Her hair was falling out of its ponytail. She looked exhausted and frantic and absolutely beautiful. She made it to the railing and leaned over it, waving both arms now. Daniel saw her mouth moving, shouting something, but he couldn't hear her over all the noise in the arena. But he could read her lips. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm so proud of you. Daniel was fully crying now, not caring who saw. He shouted back, I love you too, knowing she couldn't hear him either, but hoping she could read his lips just like he'd read hers. His mom kept trying to push forward, but there were too many people. The crowd was too thick. She couldn't get down to the floor from where she was. Daniel could see the frustration on her face, the desperation. She'd made it here, but she couldn't get to him. Someone next to Daniel touched his arm. He turned to see a security guard, an older guy with kind eyes. That your mom up there? Daniel nodded, not trusting his voice. The guard smiled. Come on, let's get you two together. He led Daniel through a staff entrance and up a service stairway that went directly to the upper sections. Daniel took the stairs two at a time, his graduation gown flapping behind him, his cap long forgotten somewhere. Nothing mattered except getting to his mom. They emerged in section 210, close to where his mom was stuck in the crowd. The security guard pointed. She's right over there. Go get her. Daniel didn't need to be told twice. He pushed through the crowd, not even apologizing when he bumped into people, not caring about the annoyed looks. He could see his mom now, just a few rows away. She'd seen him coming. Her face lit up even as tears kept falling, and then there was no more distance between them. Daniel crashed into his mom's arms with enough force to almost knock them both over. She caught him, held him tight, and they just stood there in the middle of the crowded arena, holding onto each other like their lives depended on it. His mom was sobbing into his shoulder. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, baby. I tried to get here. I tried so hard. Daniel was crying too hard to respond. He just held her tighter. She pulled back enough to look at his face, her hands coming up to cup his cheeks. You did it. You graduated. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. I thought you forgot, Daniel choked out. I thought you weren't coming. Forget? Oh baby, no, never. His mom's voice cracked. A patient coded right during shift change. Their hearts stopped and we had to bring them back. I couldn't leave. I couldn't just walk away while someone was dying. My phone died and I couldn't charge it, and by the time we got them stable I was so late and I just ran. I didn't even change out of my scrubs, I just got in my car and drove as fast as I could. She was talking so fast, words tumbling over each other, still crying. I got here right as they were calling your name. I heard it over the speakers in the parking lot and I just ran. I ran all the way here and you were already on the stage and I couldn't get to you and I saw you looking for me and I just... She broke down completely, pulling him close again. Daniel held his mom while she cried. Feeling her exhaustion, her relief, her overwhelming emotions, he could feel how hard she was shaking. You saved someone's life, he said into her hair. Mom, you saved someone's life. But I almost missed yours, she sobbed. I almost missed the most important moment of your life. You didn't miss it. Daniel pulled back to look at her. You're here now. That's what matters. His mom shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I missed you walking across that stage. I missed seeing you get your diploma. I missed everything. You didn't miss everything, Daniel said firmly. He held up the diploma cover that he'd somehow managed to hold on to through all of this. This is just paper. The real achievement is everything that came before. And you were there for all of that. Every late night. Every panic attack. Every moment I wanted to quit. You were always there. His mom made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. She laughed for real this time, even while crying. Then she grabbed his face again and kissed his forehead, his cheeks, the top of his head. My baby, my college graduate. I can't believe my baby graduated from college. Your baby is 22, Mom. You'll always be my baby. She was smiling now, that proud mom smile he'd been missing all day. You're the first person in our entire family to get a college degree. Do you know how amazing that is? Do you know how incredible you are? Daniel felt fresh tears coming. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, his mom said firmly. You did this. All those papers, those exams, those projects, that was all you. I just worked some extra shifts. Some extra shifts? Daniel laughed through his tears. Mom, you worked yourself to death for 4 years so I could do this. She shrugged, still smiling. What else was I going to do with my time? They both laughed, still holding on to each other. People were moving around them, giving them space, some smiling at the obvious reunion happening in the middle of the crowd. Daniel's phone started buzzing insistently in his pocket. He pulled it out to find about 15 messages from his sister, each one more panicked than the last. The most recent one said, "Where are you?" "We've been looking everywhere." "That's probably your sister," his mom said, reading over his shoulder. "We should find her before she reports you missing. She's in section 214 with Aunt Carmen. Then let's go." His mom grabbed his hand, lacing her fingers through his. "Lead the way, graduate." They made their way through the thinning crowd hand in hand. Daniel couldn't stop looking at her, couldn't stop smiling. She was really here. Exhausted, still in her scrubs, her makeup smeared from crying. But here. And that was all that mattered. Finding his sister and aunt in the maze of people took longer than Daniel expected, but he didn't mind. He kept his mom's hand firmly in his, afraid that if he let go, she might disappear again. She squeezed his hand every few seconds like she was checking to make sure he was real too. They finally spotted his sister standing on a chair, phone to her ear, frantically scanning the crowd. When she saw them, her face went from panic to relief to joy in about 2 seconds. She jumped down and ran over, nearly tackling them both. "Where were you? I've been losing my mind." "And Mom, you're here." She was talking a mile a minute, hugging them both at the same time. Aunt Carmen appeared behind her, also looking relieved. "We thought you'd been kidnapped or something. Your sister was about to call campus security." "I was really going to do it," his sister insisted. "You can't just disappear after graduating." Daniel laughed. "Sorry, I was a little distracted." His mom pulled his sister into a proper hug, apologizing for being late and explaining about the patient who'd coded. His sister's eyes went wide. "Wait, you literally ran here straight from saving someone's life? That's the most mom thing I've ever heard." "Someone had to be there for graduation," their mom said, her voice still thick with emotion. I wasn't going to let anything stop me, not even death itself. Aunt Carmen shook her head with a smile. That's a little dark, but okay. I work in healthcare. Everything's a little dark. His mom turned back to Daniel, her eyes getting watery again. Okay, I need pictures. So many pictures. My phone died, so I didn't get any of the ceremony, which means we're taking approximately 1 million photos right now to make up for it. Mom, no one takes 1 million photos, Daniel protested, but he was smiling. Watch me. She pulled out her phone, which apparently had enough charge now to work. Everyone get together. For the next 20 minutes, they took photos. Daniel with his mom, Daniel with his sister, Daniel with his aunt, all 4 of them together. Just him and his mom again. His mom made random people stop and take group photos. She took close-ups of his diploma cover. She made him put his cap back on for more pictures. She took selfies with him making goofy faces. Other families walking by smiled at them, recognizing the joy of a proud parent who'd finally made it to their kid's graduation. One older woman stopped and offered to take a photo of all of them together so everyone could be in it. This is your son? The woman asked, looking at Daniel in his cap and gown. Yes, his mom said, bursting with pride. He just graduated. First in our family to get a college degree. That's wonderful. Congratulations, young man. The woman smiled at Daniel. You should be very proud. Thank you. I am. We all are, his mom added, squeezing his shoulder. After the woman took several photos and walked away, his sister grabbed Daniel's other arm. I'm starving. Can we please go eat now? I've been up since 6 and had nothing but coffee. Food sounds good, Daniel agreed. His stomach reminded him that he'd been too nervous to eat breakfast. There's that diner you love, his mom suggested. The one with the huge pancakes. The one that's always packed and has an hour wait? Aunt Carmen asked. It's worth it. His mom looked at Daniel. Unless you want to go somewhere else? It's your day. You pick. Daniel thought about it. The fancy restaurant his mom had mentioned last week. The steakhouse where all his friends were planning to go. But honestly, the only thing that sounded good was that familiar diner, with the sticky tables and the waitress who always called everyone, honey. The diner's perfect, he said. They made their way out of the arena and across campus toward the parking lot. The weather was beautiful, sunny and warm without being too hot. Perfect graduation weather. Other families were doing the same thing, heading to cars, making plans for celebrations, soaking in the moment. Daniel's mom kept her arm linked through his as they walked. She was moving a little slower than usual, and he could see how tired she really was. She'd probably been on her feet for the last 16 hours straight, running on nothing but adrenaline and determination. You okay, Mom? He asked quietly. I'm perfect, she said, but he could hear the exhaustion in her voice. When's the last time you slept? She had to think about it. Thursday night? Mom, that was 2 days ago. I had a double shift yesterday and then went straight into another shift this morning. It's fine. I'll sleep later. Today is about celebrating you. Daniel shook his head. We're celebrating, but then you're going home and sleeping for like 12 hours. Deal. She leaned her head on his shoulder as they walked. But first, pancakes and 1 million more photos. At the parking lot, they had to split up to their separate cars. His mom's car was apparently all the way in the very last row, which explained why she'd had to run so far. Daniel wanted to argue that she was too tired to drive, but he knew the conversation wouldn't go anywhere. Just follow us to the diner, he said. And please don't fall asleep at the wheel. I'm a nurse. I'm trained to function on no sleep. She kissed his cheek. But I'll be careful. Promise. They caravanned to the diner, Daniel watching his mom's car in his rearview mirror the whole time to make sure she was okay. True to Aunt Carmen's prediction, the parking lot was packed and there was a wait list a mile long. But his mom marched right up to the hostess stand with Daniel in tow. Hi, my son just graduated from college. First in our family. Any chance you have a table? The hostess looked at Daniel in his cap and gown, then at his mom in her hospital scrubs, clearly reading the situation. She smiled. Congratulations. Give me 5 minutes. It ended up being more like 15, but they didn't mind. They waited outside, Daniel still in his graduation outfit because his mom refused to let him change yet. She wanted to soak in every second of this day. When they finally got seated, his mom ordered coffee. Lots of coffee. Maybe you should get decaf, Aunt Carmen suggested gently. I'll sleep later, his mom insisted. Right now I need to be fully awake to celebrate my son. They ordered way too much food. Pancakes and waffles and omelets and hash browns and bacon and toast. The waitress didn't even blink at the massive order, probably used to serving big graduation celebrations. While they waited for food, his mom pulled out her phone again. Okay, I need to send photos to literally everyone we know. Your grandmother is going to die when she sees these. Please don't give Grandma a heart attack, his sister said. Fine. She's going to be very happy when she sees these. His mom was already texting, her fingers flying across the screen. I'm sending them to your uncles too. And your cousins. And everyone at the hospital. And probably some random people I don't even know. Daniel laughed. You're ridiculous. I'm proud, she corrected. There's a difference. The food arrived, and for a while everyone just ate. Daniel hadn't realized how hungry he was until he started eating. The pancakes were as good as he remembered, fluffy and huge and covered in syrup. His mom kept looking at him between bites like she couldn't quite believe he was real. Every few minutes she'd reach over and squeeze his hand or touch his shoulder just to connect. What are you thinking about? Daniel asked her. She took a sip of her coffee, considering the question. I'm thinking about when you were 7 and wanted to be a firefighter. Then when you were 10 and wanted to be a professional soccer player. Then when you were 13 and wanted to be a video game designer. I forgot about the video game designer phase, Daniel admitted. And now here you are, a college graduate with a degree in biology, planning to apply to medical school. She shook her head in wonder. You've grown up so much. You've become this incredible person, and I got to watch it happen. You didn't just watch, Daniel said. You made it happen. I couldn't have gotten here without you. His mom's eyes filled with tears again. Stop, you're going to make me cry into my pancakes. Too late, his sister said, pointing at their mom's face where tears were definitely falling. These are happy tears, their mom insisted, wiping her eyes with her napkin. Very happy tears. Aunt Carmen raised her coffee cup. A toast. To Daniel, who worked incredibly hard for 4 years and earned every bit of his success. And to his mom, who sacrificed everything to make sure he had the chance to succeed. We're all so proud of both of you. They clinked their coffee cups and orange juice glasses together. Daniel looked around the table at his small family, all of them smiling at him with so much love and pride. This morning, sitting in his empty kitchen, he'd felt so alone. He'd thought the most important day of his life was ruined. But now, sitting in this crowded diner with his family, he realized something. The ceremony didn't matter. Walking across the stage didn't matter. The photos and the applause and the piece of paper didn't matter. What mattered was this. His mom, exhausted but beaming, still in her scrubs from saving someone's life. His sister making jokes to keep everyone laughing. His aunt, who'd always been there for all of them. This family, imperfect and small and sometimes a little broken, but always showing up for each other. His mom caught him looking at her and smiled. What? Nothing. Just happy you're here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be, she said simply. Even if I had to climb over about 100 people to get here. That was pretty impressive, his sister added. Mom went full parkour in those stands. I'm thinking about trying out for the Olympics, and their mom joked. Scrubs wearing nurse division. They all laughed. The diner was loud around them, full of other families celebrating, but their little table felt like its own world. Safe and warm and full of love.